Manchmal kann man sich ja nicht.
Good evening, everyone. I please request everyone to mute their mics.
Das kann doch eigentlich Fernando machen, oder? Für alle muten. Was ist los?
We are live. We are going live in 1 minute now. Mr. Ghosh, we can start the session now.
Very well, thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. I understand we have representatives from South America all the way to Indonesia, and we're pretty much covering the entire span of the day. You would have noticed, as the participants were coming in, that we've had a rousing start to this webinar already. So welcome to the International Panel Series on Shaping Sustainable Business Post-COVID. Today's conversation is on business resilience, and this will be followed by 3 other conversations in future on supply chain disruption, reskilling and digitalization, and sustaining SMEs. Let me introduce to you our panel for today's conversation. We have Ms. Olajobi Makinwa, Chief of Intergovernmental Relations and Africa, United Nations Global Compact. Mr. Bernhard Steinruck, Director General, Indo-German Chamber of Commerce. Ms. Suzanne Friedrich, Director, Alliance for Integrity, and Dr. Ashutosh Karnatak, former Director Projects and CMD Gale, mentor of Plus Approach Foundation. I'm sure our conversation is going to be as rousing as the beginning of the webinar. As we talk about business resilience, we must remember that businesses always try to be resilient on their own. However, as hard as they might try, if you look at the Fortune 500 list over a period of time, you will see that some of them keep disappearing from the list and new ones appear. And that's probably because even as a business figures out what it needs to do to be resilient, new things come up. Just as we are in the middle of experiencing something completely new. This disruption has led to a lot of learning. In fact, if we were to spend time discussing what we've learned from this disruption, we could spend the entire day. But let me highlight 3 things which are unique to this disruption that we are facing and the learnings that we've got. The first is that we have never experienced this depth and width of disruption from anything ever before. And therefore, it was possibly inconceivable in our minds that disruption would be so widespread and so deep. The second thing that we've learned is that in a connected world, disruption can come from anywhere. It does not have to originate from your geographical location. It can originate somewhere else and travel. And the third important thing that we've learned is that what seems ridiculous today may not be ridiculous and may actually happen. Keeping these three things in mind, let's jump into the questions for the day and request our panelists to address them. Let's begin by asking the question, what do businesses need to do differently to be more resilient and build back better as we get back from this disruption? May I request Ms. Olajobi Makinwa to share her opinion on this question.
Thank you very much indeed, moderator. I hope my camera is okay. I'm not sure. Can you see me?
Yes, yes, we can. And you're very nicely audible.
Thank you very much indeed. I mean, as you have said already, the current pandemic has exposed the hard truth about the sheer scale of global crisis and the global risks and the lack of resilience that are built into our current business model. The economic and social disruptions caused by coronavirus, they're really unprecedented. With more than 300 million jobs that could be lost, between 70 and 100 million people could be pushed into extreme poverty, and the World Bank anticipates the sharpest decline. Oh, there's a lot of...
May we request all participants to keep their microphones on mute, please? In fact, everybody keep your microphone on mute if you're not speaking. The disturbance doesn't help. Yes, Joby, please continue.
Thank you. So I was giving the types of, talking about the types of jobs that could be lost. We've seen many people lose their jobs already. 100 million people could be pushed into extreme poverty. And the World Bank anticipates the sharpest decline in per capita income since 1870. COVID-19 has forced a reprioritization of resources, a general slowdown in government spending, and a slowdown in consumer spending. As resources were allocated initially towards health systems, many economies and business sectors began to feel the weight of the shifts in spending. We are in an unprecedented time. Millions of SMEs, they have shut down. They creating a new cohort of millions of unemployed who joined those who were already left behind before the call to action of the Sustainable Development Goals. For the more resilient businesses, it is likely that there is a new focus on self-preservation. At the same time, the world is probably at a moment of the widest inequality gaps all around, in healthcare, in education, in economic growth, in strength of social fabric and all that. Before coronavirus, the focus of some companies was on maximizing short-term results as a result of maximizing shareholder value. These businesses and shareholders need to quickly start to adapt to management models with a multi-time scale perspective. They must forego a certain amount of efficiency or performance today for the scale of more sustained performance in the future. So what I might say is that companies that were not sustainable before, operating in a sustainable manner before, they must learn to know that it can no longer be business as usual. So, and before coronavirus, many businesses were mainly focused on creating and executing stable plans. They have some stable plans that they work towards addressing, some risks that they can easily foresee, which works well when casual relationships are clear, predictable, and unchanging. However, Resilience itself deals with what is unknown, what is changeable, what is unpredictable, what is improbable, and has significant consequences. This is the disruption we're looking at today, which is COVID-19. So how then can businesses react to this? It is the businesses that are able to quickly adapt to what we are referring to as the new normal that can somewhat lessen the effect of the disruption on their businesses. So they need to, for business and every one of us, it is an opportunity now to pause and rethink, quickly identify weaknesses, the challenges as an organization, and bridge the gap. Businesses must embrace change and be willing to do things differently. They must change their strategy, refocus, re-envision, re-pivot, reposition your businesses to not only survive, but thrive in this new normal. Businesses must encourage, embrace innovation and technology. They must move beyond crisis management and proactively strategize for the new normal. They must not look forward and plan for things to get normal, but they must look forward and plan towards building a robust organization that is able to meet the changing needs of the industry, of the country where they work, and of the world. Agenda 2030 speaks to leaving no one behind. Businesses must carry all their stakeholders along down. They must build resilience into the DNA and communicate the same and embed it, communicate the same issue of leave no one behind to all their stakeholders. They must evaluate their supply chain and resourcing for alternatives. It is necessary to also ensure that they form strategic partnerships to not only take advantage of synergies, but also cover for weak areas that companies cannot immediately scale for. Most importantly to me also is that they must not forget or neglect other risks. It is probably the time to do a robust risk analysis of the business and identify the key risks to the business. They must not assume that they know all in this new normal. So to achieve all this and many more, businesses need to incorporate the UN Sustainable Development Goals and the UN Global Compact 10 principles in their operations, in their supply chain, everywhere. And now more than ever before, it is a time when business can and should play a central role in societal transformation and turn the recovery into a real opportunity to do things right for the future. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much for your comments. May I call on Mr. Bernhard Steinrucke now? Bernhard, in your opinion, what do businesses need to do differently to be more resilient and build back better?
Yeah, thank you very much. Good afternoon. Of course, after that introductory statement, it's pretty difficult to follow because a lot has been said already. But indeed, I think the Corona crisis is a challenge, but also an opportunity for the business world to look at things differently. And we've said in the past already that the profits of yesterday are the losses of tomorrow if we are not sustainable. And therefore, with the Corona crisis, we have now the opportunity to look at many, many things different from the way we've been looking at it in the past. Of course, there is a certain danger at the moment that because the crisis is so gigantic that we might lose focus on the things we've been discussing in the last couple of years. And when we look at the 17 SDGs, we might think that certain ones we could just not follow for some time because we have to just revive the business, because in no strategic plan it was said that suddenly everything comes to a total standstill. We may have had plans that, yes, if business goes back maybe by 10 or 20%, or like in the financial crisis, maybe a little more, but a standstill by 100%, nobody had on their plans. And therefore, the situation at the moment is quite different from whatever we had in our textbooks, in our strategies, or any clever consultant had in mind. And therefore, the danger is really that the focus might get sidetracked. And the companies, of course, know, any multinational company knows they have to stick to whether it is elimination of poverty, or whether it is education, or whether it's reducing the gender gap, or whether it is an environmental friendly business. I mean, those are all the SDGs that companies are following. But now the situation is different. So the question is, can we stick to our goals that we have put there? Can we stick to all the 17 sustainable goals immediately? Can we stick to the 2030 targets? And this is something, and it was mentioned, we have to look beyond crisis management. We have to have a plan for the new normal. And this is something that is new for everybody. And now it will be decisive which company, which country, which continent understands the new normal, understands what we have to do, well, in many cases, to survive. But it is also a reset, as we call it, because, and I've mentioned that in many discussions earlier, to a certain extent, it's quite intriguing to see 4 weeks ago, we, especially the Germans, celebrated the end of the Second World War, the end of a horrible time where Germans were also responsible for. And normally 75 years today is the lifespan of a normal human being. And maybe this crisis, after 75 years of, to a certain extent, a relatively peaceful world, has asked us, the business communities, the nations, and Vijay, please switch off please mute yourself. We hear all the noise. This has basically shown us that after a lifespan, we have to think, have we done the right thing in this lifespan for the future? And one can have questions, indeed, whether the way we consume, whether the way we spoil the environment, etc., is the right way. Obviously, it's not. That's why we have the 17 sustainable goals. But now, the business world, the politicians, everybody has to, yes?
If I may make a request to participants to keep themselves muted, please.
Yeah, there's a lot of disturbance.
Vijay, your mic is on. Would you mind putting it on mute? And if somebody can centrally control this, it would be wonderful. If you could centrally mute everybody except the speaker, it would be wonderful. The disturbance is getting a little bit too much. Mana, please carry on.
Yeah, thank you. Vijay is
really one. The last speaker has told the cyber security. We are going digital. So we have to use very optimally AI and machine learning, or we can use it. But after that, the most important part is the workforce. What we are doing for the workforce, and a caution will come. We have to take about their health and their well-being, and optimization of the workforce. This other area which I'm thinking that it is going to come. It is optimization of workforce after reskilling, upskilling. I was reading about Singapore and Japan. What they have done, how they utilize this time. They utilize this time for the training of their people. So for the resilient and sustainable organization, we have to be more focused instead of business as usual, people and profit. We have to think about the people, we have to think about the profit, and definitely think about the planet. And we need to migrate from reactive to proactive. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Karnataka. I think we've had a round of very, very interesting inputs on the question of what businesses need to do differently to build resilience. We've got a very little time before we go into question answers. So let me try one more question for the panel. Susan, if you don't mind, may I request you to quickly share with us how you and your organization are trying to help build business resilience.
Sure. Thank you for the question. Well, perhaps I should explain very quickly who we are. Alliance for Integrity is a global multi-stakeholder initiative that has the objective to prevent corruption in the economic system. So we are a network, a large network of representatives from the private sector, from the public sector, and from civil society. We bring together our knowledge and our experience in order to make SMEs more resilient along the value chains, because the starting point of the initiative was that economy takes more and more place in global value chains, and the big companies are able to put in place a compliance management system. But they have to make sure, due to international legislation and to a common interest, that integrity is not only assured by themselves, but also by their suppliers. And that is a big challenge when it comes to small and medium-sized companies in developing countries or emerging economies, where there's not so much knowledge and perhaps not so much awareness and capacity regarding compliance and integrity. So what we do is, in a collective action, bring together our capacities to build compliance management systems among SMEs. And as to your question, one of the things we are doing, for example, is a format that we have developed all together, large companies, business associations, chambers, as well as civil society, is called Integrity Journey, and it's a training and coaching program for SMEs. To strengthen their competitiveness. It always starts with a specific target regarding the business strategy of a company, and then gives inputs in order to be able to build a compliance management system. So these integrity journeys take place now, and this is very good news. We think that small and medium-sized companies are interested in this program now, because it's a moment where they struggle and have to survive, and they have scarce resources. But there are indeed companies that have seen the importance that integrity and compliance and the benefits that it can have for their business model. So these companies are coached by us, and from the last round we had, the companies told us that they could react better regarding the corona crisis, because they knew better their business partners, they were aware of their main risks, and they had defined previously processes to be able to deal with them. So this makes them more competitive and resilient, yeah, and they have competitive advantages like access to finance may be one, because banks also consider if companies have put in place a compliance system, they may have new business opportunities along global value chains, or they may be more attractive also for qualified staff.
That's a great input, Suzanne, and I'm sure the SMEs you work with are very lucky to have you. Let me turn to Bernhard Steinrück. Bernhard, in the Indo-German Chamber of Commerce, how are you helping businesses be resilient?
So I hope it works. I cannot see my camera though. There we are. Takes some time. Yeah, how do we help our members to be resilient? Well, we are part, as I mentioned earlier, of the Alliance for Integrity, and we've been working very close with them for many, many years, and help our members to get access to their experience and their seminars, etc. Now, during the crisis here, actually, we've done quite a bit to help the companies to support, for instance, their staff. The topic of the migrant laborers is a huge topic, so we had a specific webinar on that, where we had partners like Aditya Birla Group, Biocrop Science, Uber India, for instance, and a few others, and discussed with them how to handle the migrant laborers. Because many people, even in India, they think migrant laborers are only the construction workers. No, there's so many more people who basically live on daily wages, up to people in restaurants, even many of the cab drivers, we've seen it. They basically live from daily wages, from the business that the day brings. And if there's a lockdown, there's no business anymore. And that's why so many people left back to their villages. So we had conducted webinars for our members how to handle laborers like this, for instance. Then we had another seminar with Amphori, which is an organization based in Brussels, specialized on supply chains, where we especially looked at the social responsibility of the textile industry, which is a big industry in India, as we all know, of course, and we have quite a few members from the textile industry. And here also, the question of supply chain is very, very critical. And Amphori, the organization in Brussels, many of their members, like for instance, Otto Versand, which is a big German group, or Metro, another big German group, they get their supplies from India and from other countries, and they want to make sure that the supply chain is clean, as we call it. And so we had a webinar with Amphori and with the International Labour Organization and our members to guide our members how to make sure that the supply chain is clean, because if the supply chain is not clean, you can take huge risks, and we've seen that in the past. Suddenly something happens, then the questions are asked, then you're in the press in Germany, and this does not go down well for your image at all. And therefore, we help our member companies to be safe here. And of course, we have another platform called Extending Support that's on our website, where basically our members can look at the website about the state of affairs of COVID. They can see which kind of NGO can help, what NGOs are doing. So it's a double advantage. The NGO gets the exposure, and our members can see what the NGOs can do for them. We have a very strong CSR portfolio, where we basically guide companies what they can do with regard to CSR, and we also promote, together with GIZ, for instance, CSR activities of our members. And when the Chancellor was here in November in Delhi for the intergovernmental consultations, we presented to her a booklet that we've published about CSR activities of German companies, because as we say in German, do good and talk about it.
Wonderful, Bernard. We've all read horrendous stories about supply chain disruptions of MNC companies, and always wondered, how can an MNC company manage its supply chain at a place so far away? We know now that organizations like yours help them do it. So thank you very much. May I move to Joby now with the question on how the UN Global Compact is enabling businesses to be resilient. But before I come to you, Joby, just a word to the participants that question answer time is coming up. Please keep sending in your questions on the platform. Seema will pick up the questions and share it with us, and the panelists will address them. Over to you, Joby. Joby, you need to unmute yourself.
Thank you. Right. Oh, yeah, thank you so much, moderator. Thank you very much indeed for the question. Ensuring an inclusive and effective recovery from the current pandemic, from the current crisis, we require collaboration across all stakeholders. Government, the private sector, civil society, every one of us must have our hands on deck. The Global Compact is the world's largest corporate sustainability initiative.
Joby, just give me a second. For some time, we were having terrific silence on the call. Could we go back to that again, please? Could you keep your mics on silent? Joby, all yours.
Thank you very much indeed. I just said that we need a multi-stakeholder approach. We need inclusive and effective recovery. For us to be able to do that, we need collaboration across all sectors, across all countries, in order to be able to recover better and recover together. And the Global Compact, we are the world's largest corporate sustainability organization. It is a call to companies all over the world, wherever companies are, whatever the size of the company, to align their strategies and operations with universal principles on human rights, on environment, on labor issues, and on anti-corruption. And also that these companies must take actions that advance societal goals. And that's including this issue of coronavirus and how to recover. So the Global Compact we have been acting as a platform of platforms. And what do I mean? We are bringing together governments, international institutions, the private sector, and civil society to facilitate a swift COVID-19 response and recovery. Recovering better and recovering together. It has to be together. As part of our efforts, the UN Global Compact launched a special appeal that calls on business leaders everywhere to unite to support workers, communities, and companies affected by COVID-19 pandemic, and providing guidance and support to companies everywhere. We are also helping companies to navigate the sustainability challenges magnified by COVID-19, because some companies are asking, what do we do? How do we navigate? How do we embed sustainability when there are these sort of challenges? When we are saying, the Global Compact is saying, you must not forget the 10 principles of the Global Compact. You must embed them even into how you recover. You must embed the Sustainable Development Goals. It's a total package. The Paris Agreement, they are important to our recovery. So companies have been asking us, how do we navigate the sustainability challenges magnified by COVID-19? What we have done is to compile a series of COVID-19 issue area briefs that detail the impact of the pandemic on a range of sustainability issue areas, including on gender equality, on ocean, on what, as we know that we have this issue of seafarers, for a challenge right now. How do we address these issues? We have a brief, which is on our website. We have issue area briefs on water stewardship, on climate, on decent work, on sustainable finance, on human rights, and anti-corruption. Each of the briefs includes a variety of resources that will help companies build back better and recover stronger. The briefs are available on the UN Global Compact website.
Terrific, Joby.
I still have a few things. Let me go through quickly. Our stakeholder academic series. We have an academic series where we have invited governments, private sector, and civil society organizations to tell us what they have been doing to recover better, and other companies can learn from them. Further, the UN Global Compact recently organized our Leaders Summit. We brought together more than 20,000 business, government, and civil society leaders from all over the world of various sizes and industry, recognizing the urgent need for international cooperation and showing that it is indeed possible and profitable to adopt sustainable business practices, even during difficult times like this. And finally, at the UN, we say that COVID-19 is the greatest test of our generation's commitment to multilateralism, global citizenship, and solidarity. And it is exactly in this moment of crisis that the Sustainable Development Goals are most valuable. The 17 goals, global goals, provide a roadmap for all global stakeholders and sectors of society on how to rebuild our economies and livelihoods to forge a better society, more equal, environmentally friendly, more resilient, and leaving no one behind. Thank you.
Thank you, Joby. Even as I was speaking, I was thinking about the 17 SDGs. And it seems to me that no SDG gets in the way of doing better business. So following the SDGs is a great path to follow. So thank you very much for all the lovely work that you're doing through the Global Compact. Dr. Karnatak, a quick word from you before we go to question and answers. You've been the CMD of a very large Indian PSU. You also are doing wonderful work in the area of positivity through a foundation. Are you getting some opportunities to enable businesses to be resilient?
Again, yeah, my fault. Okay, in fact, when I left at the time, Corona, this was in top, all lockdown and everywhere, and company has to sustain. In fact, we were in gas business. We are rather in the gas business. Gas prices have gone down. Our price of LPG, one of our segment, that liquid hydrocarbon, that has gone down. All the prices have gone down. So management has taken a call how to sustain, how to be resilient, how to sustain it. So immediately we have done, in fact, we have done a very good project in last 2-3 years back. That is, I gave in my preface, that project Sanchay. It is Sanchay mean saving the money. How you can save the money. So that is the one part that we have relaunched. Number 2, we have again technology. One, digital Yatra, we have launched a project. Total digitalization of the company by 2021. Yatra means a journey. So digital journey we have started in 2016. It is still going on. And with this, we are trying to have the processes on the digital and automation mode. Third, what we have done, the work flexibility we have given. In fact, till today, I have talked to our people that work flexibility, that around 30% people, they are coming to office. But what literally I found, the beneficial part, that's why I don't say Corona is a pandemic. Corona is an opportunity. Corona is an opportunity to introspect, to realign your thoughts, to do everything, because you have really not known yourself. You all were always there in a blind journey. It is not blind. In fact, now we are seeing what we are. So what I have found, rather all our management level people found, we have become more efficient. Because during the video chat, if some problem is there, the solutions are there and all the participants were there. Earlier, their minds were not there. Now their minds are focused. So people have become more focused. People have become more rather energetic. Earlier in Delhi, we have to go for 2 hours morning, 2 hours evening. So now from 9 o'clock, we are free. Everybody is free. And they are doing the job maybe up to 9 to 8, maybe at the evening. So this faster decision making, efficiency, it has come, and workflows, and other part what we have done, we are merging the departments. Earlier we are not having the time. Now we are optimizing our manpower to have more efficient, and more leadership changes we are doing, that at least there are some departments who are just like that. We are trying to merge so that they can meet the objective of the company. So there are few changes, few things which in our earlier organization, GAIL India Limited, has been done. So it is, I am not saying, see, pandemic is yesterday. In life, there are only 2 days, yesterday and today. Tomorrow never comes. So yesterday gone. Now let us take Corona as an opportunity for our improvement so that we can become resilient and sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Karnatak. I think you made it very clear that we were all on this never-ending treadmill, running along, not being able to stop and introspect and make real change, and we had that opportunity. Terrific. Time now for questions from the participants. Seema, I hope you've been reading through the questions and have some good ones for us.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Ghosh. So the first question that we have is directed to Susanna. The question is, what about micro, small and medium enterprises? How should they be building business resilience?
Susanna?
Can you see me and hear me? Yeah.
We can hear you and we can see you now.
Great, excellent. Well, thank you for the question. Well, as I explained already in my second intervention, our main target group are the SMEs. And because we know that we need to build awareness, knowledge, and capacities regarding the implementation of compliance management systems among them. And we have our fantastic partners, not only in India with the Indian chapter of the Global Compact in the Indo-German Chamber, but all over the world. Also Mahindra in India, for example, is a company that works closely with us. One of our formats to address the specific challenges of small and medium-sized companies is a model that is called From Companies to Companies. So what we do is train the chief compliance officers of big companies that have a lot of knowledge and experience regarding the implementation of compliance management systems. We train them to become trainers for SMEs. And their core business is already to be in touch with their suppliers and train them. But those companies do is in the context of Alliance for Integrity is go beyond their core business and train SMEs not only in their sector but beyond. And not only in the capitals, but also in the rural areas, which I must admit is still a challenge for us. But we now learn with the digitalization due to Corona also that much more is possible than we thought. So with this program, From Companies to Companies, we are able to offer trainings as a general entry point to get related to the issue of integrity, how to build a culture of integrity inside a company, what are the specific steps of a compliance management program, and so on. And additionally to the trainings, we offer them a tool that is called the Integrity app. It's a cell phone application which allows SMEs to have us make a kind of self-assessment and check to what extent they already have or comply with international standards regarding compliance. And after doing the self-assessment, they get access to additional information. They get access to our network to be able to exchange with other SMEs, because often the companies feel quite alone. They think they are alone with the topic of with this challenge of how to react in a situation where corruption takes place, where I'm asked to offer a bribe or whatever. And for them, it's important to see in the first place that they are not alone, that there is a space where they can share a confident, a trustful place where they can share their experience, and then find together solutions to their specific challenges in their day-to-day business. And well, this is the training, there is the app, there is the network, there are the webinars and the information on our website. So there are different resources that are made available for them. And last but not least, we heard also before from the speakers, it's good to do good things, but also talk about it, get visibility with what they are doing, inviting them to international fora as well to share their experience and make it available for other SMEs is an additional possibility that we can offer. Now we are working very strongly on documenting the success stories of those companies, because as a main entry point, we see that integrity needs to be linked to the business case of the company. They have to see an additional value for their business strategy. And with those success stories, we can show that having a compliance management system in place, being able to manage the third parties, being able to deal with emergency situations, they are much more competitive when it comes to finding contractors, when it comes to getting access to finance, and etc.
Terrific, Suzanne. I think from the things you've said, there are many people on this conversation who will want to make friends with you and your company. We certainly will. Let's go to the second question. Seema, what is the second question you have for us?
Hi, so the second question is directed to Dr. Karnatak. The question is, the person who has lost his job and has nothing to do presently and is corona positive as well, how can he think positive? How can he prepare himself?
Wow, that's a great question. Dr. Karnatak, you'll need to unmute yourself before you get started. And if I may request you for a quick, short reply so that we can take more questions.
Yeah, who has lost a job and who has corona positive, the only way is do have patience. Because patience is the key. And believe me that the destiny plays a major role in your life. Wait and have patience. Because this is a time of crisis when you have to rather take out your internal part, the perseverance part. You need to persevere that this situation has come. That's why I told yesterday. And this day shall also pass. This is a mantra of success. This day will also pass. This day will also pass. Please have patience and courage. The attribute which will help you out with the positivity in your positive mind that nothing will happen to me. I will come out of this crisis, and courage. Face it. Because facing the crisis, facing the barrier, that is the rather the attribute of a successful person. So at this moment only I can say, although I know it's difficult, saying easy and doing difficult, but only we can have a inspiration thing to that fellow. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Karnatak. In fact, if the person has been detected as corona positive, I do hope that the person gets good treatment and recovers quickly.
Yeah.
Seema, next question, please.
Yes, moving on to the next question, which is an open question and to any one of the panelist members.
So we'll give Joby or Bernard first shot at it.
Sure.
Okay.
So the question is, what about the unorganized sector?
Seema, we couldn't hear you properly. Could you say it again? And
Sure,
Dr. Karnatak, could you put yourself on mute, please?
Yeah, I've done it.
Hasn't happened yet. There. Terrific.
Yes. So the question says, resilience during the COVID times is exhibited more for the organized sector, but what about the unorganized sector?
Bernard, would you want to take a shot at it?
Sure, I can do that. Of course, in India, the unorganized sector is huge. They're saying about 80% of the people working are in the unorganized sector. And of course, for them, the challenges are much, much bigger than in the organized sector. There's no doubt about it. On the other hand, the government is providing support, of course, basic support, like we've seen it with the food. But also when you look at the hospitals and the facilities that have come up now, a lot, of course, has happened. But it was said earlier, you need patience. In India, you need patience and relations. So relations can be your family, but it also means your community. It means your network that you have. And in India, India is a network country. Everybody has a network. Also, the unorganized sector has a network. So why is the country functioning? We sometimes wonder. Yeah, it's functioning because everyone has a network. Everyone has relations. And with these kind of network and relations, somehow it works. Initially, there was chaos, but in India, there is no revolution. In any other country in the world, with such a situation, there would be a revolution. In India, there is no revolution because people know how to manage somehow. Even when you see the infection rate, of course, the cases are still going up, but it was mentioned earlier, the number of people dying from COVID is still comparatively low compared to other countries when you see the population. That means somehow it is still functioning. And this gives me the confidence that India will go through it, and maybe it will come out stronger. Actually, I think in India, due to COVID, a lot of things have shown up which were undercover. And this will change in future because people realize this doesn't work on the long run. And this is a big opportunity which everyone has to take up. Not only the government. The government is doing a lot, but the government cannot do it alone. Everyone has to do it. The companies have to do it. The society has to do it. The NGOs have to do it. Everyone has to do it together. And then we will come out stronger, I'm sure. And there's one mic still on a motorcycle. Please switch your motorcycle off or the mic.
Yeah, I was thinking it was a three-wheeler.
Fine.
So, patience and relations, that's a fantastic way to put it, Bernard. In fact, last evening when I went for a walk, I suddenly realized that on that path, there used to be people selling chart. I'm sure you've got familiar with chart in India now, and who don't have a business anymore. And I was speaking to a friend who happened to know them, and they said, oh, don't worry, they're getting taken care of. And so when you said patience and relations, it just struck a chord. Thank you very much. There is traffic near somebody's window, or somebody is in a vehicle. I can't figure out. Initially, I was thinking it's near Bernhard. Clearly, it's not. It's not near me. Seema, a question for Joby, please. Let me turn my mic off and see whether this.
Okay, moving to the next question. Employees working in organizations where the revenue streams have dried due to the pandemic, there's a lot of stress. What is the advice to such employees from those organizations?
Joby, did you get the question? Or would you like her to read it again?
No, who have lost their salaries, or is it? Or maybe she can read it again because the noise was really, yeah.
No, I'll read it again, Joby. So the question is, employees working in companies where the revenues have dried out due to the pandemic, the employees are in a lot of stress. What is the advice to such employees?
Thank you. I think, oh my God.
I'm just wondering, this kind of traffic is not probably happening in India.
It is from New York.
No, I live in a suburb, so there's nothing here at all.
All right.
Maybe people should also use, yeah, thank you.
Okay.
So I think we've heard some of our speakers have said the issue of patience, and the fact that we also have, especially in India and Africa, where I come from, in many countries all over the world, we have some families networks that can assist. And in some other countries where you have, there are a lot of stimulus packages now that are being, given by government. I believe that for India, it's a huge one. It's about $22 million or $0 million, so which are in America here, they are given to companies, and the companies also help to make sure that the salaries of the staff are being paid. But in developing countries, we don't have enough stimulus like that. Oh my God, stimulus like that. But we have NGOs and some companies, some foundations also that are giving palliative, that are supporting staff and all that. And I believe that, oh God.
This is very strange.
Yeah.
Good.
Mr. Ghosh, you are on mute.
Sorry.
Also the participants are all on mute, so we can't figure out where the noise is coming from.
Oh my God. Okay, Joby, we'll just have to pray.
Okay, yes. So But my intervention is that, because the companies cannot help, because the economy, the finances of the company is dwindling, but there are other sources where, I mean, palliatives are being given by NGOs and some foundations and some other sources, where the employees actually try to get some of these palliatives. At the end of the day, we need patience, we need our community support, we need our family support, because this is the new normal. And in economies where it's developing countries where we don't have enough stimulus packages, and governments actually are now even calling companies to start work. They're calling everybody to go to ensure that the economy doesn't collapse. It's very challenging. It's really challenging. Patience, 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 and I believe in God also. Let's also continue to pray that this will end very soon. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Joby. Sorry for all the disturbance. If everybody's on mute, it is history where the sound is coming from. We've got a few more minutes to take questions. So, Seema, let's get another question. We'll probably take two to give us the next two great questions.
Okay, I'll give the next one. So the question is, how should we encourage green growth in green jobs? This is a good time to transition people. Sorry, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So how should we encourage growth in green jobs? This is a good time to transition people and their skills in jobs, which can help build back better again.
Yeah, this is a great question. How can we encourage growth in green jobs? And I'm wondering the Indo-German Chamber of Commerce would be well placed to suggest how to grow green jobs, given the wonderful job they've done in Germany in growing green jobs.
Well, I think we've done a good job in green jobs, no doubt about it. But we still are working hard on it, because we have to do much more. Because again, when you look at the carbon footprint per capita, then Germany, of course, has a much higher footprint than India. And so from that angle, again, Germany cannot do it alone. India has to do a lot, because India is still at the start of becoming a real environmental friendly and green country. So the German companies in India, of course, they have the same standards like they have them in Germany or in other places globally, also in India. So they are certainly trying to be absolute environmental friendly. They have the highest standards, etc. But when it comes to, for instance, trying to use resources like solar, like wind, when it comes to trying to use less carbon, then I think German companies are good. And in India, we are on a good track. The German and the Indian government, they are supporting each other. Germany has committed quite a lot of money for the green revolution in India. I think €1 billion was committed when Chancellor Merkel was here in November. So from that angle, I think German companies are doing a good job here. There's no doubt about it. But again, it's humongous. Again, Corona has shown us. Last year at the same time, everyone was talking, actually in November when the Chancellor was here, everyone, also in Germany, was talking about the pollution in Delhi, because we could virtually see it. And when the Chancellor addressed the AGM of Indo-German Chamber of Commerce in November, she was coughing. And when we then saw the pictures of Delhi and herself with the Indian president, where you barely could see the sky, but you could see the bad air. That was the topic. Today, the air in Delhi is crystal clear. The air in Bombay is crystal clear. So COVID has suddenly shown us clean air is possible in India. And therefore, we have to try to keep that as it is. And not when COVID is gone or when we have a vaccine, we just go back to the road that we're hearing now in this webinar. I don't know who that participant is, but doesn't matter. So therefore, I think, again, Corona has given us huge opportunities, and now we have to make sure they stay. Our way of working, our way of commuting will change dramatically. Companies like TCS, like Infosys, they've already said, we will stick to the work from home because we saw it works. Work from home works. There is no need to travel in Bangalore like Mania. No need. So that's a big relief to the environment. And that is just one of the examples.
Thank you, Bernard. Before we proceed, can all the microphones be switched off centrally? Everybody's, including the speaker. Still not working. I'm just wondering what's going on. Anyhow, we've got another 15 minutes. I hope we will hear more of our voices and
it is from somebody's home. It is from somebody's home.
Shabnam suggests it's a cross connection. Very well. Seema, we will take our chances. Bernard, thank you for that intervention. It was wonderful indeed. It did strike a chord. I wanted to say something, but now I've forgotten. So we will go to the next question. Seema, a question, please.
The next question is really interesting. If all the panelists get a chance to go back to 2019 and make one change to help the world suffer less in this pandemic, what will it be?
Now that's a difficult one. So I will need a volunteer.
I will answer this because the question is, there are three situations that I told earlier: known, 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 unknown, and unknown, unknown. Known, known, you know the answer. You know the situation, know the answer. Known, unknown, you know the situation, but you are striving for the answer. But this is an unknown, unknown condition. When it happens, only you have to have patience and perseverance and be calm. Nothing. We would not have done anything. Nobody could have done it. Nobody could have done it. But now, what somebody also said, and I am also saying, now it's a time of proaction. Now we know. Now this condition is known. In fact, I was listening to one of the US governor's interview. He said that this pandemic is going to happen again after 3 years. Like everything, it happens. So we need to prepare ourselves, considering that after 3 years, something will happen like this. So what are we going to do? So it's a good time for our preparation. Thank you.
Thank you. So if we did go back to 2019, I don't know if we would do anything differently, but it would be a tragedy if we don't do something now. That is to ask the question, just like this happened, what else can possibly happen? And one important thing we know is climate change. And we should not dismiss it by saying, oh, the probability is low. But we should say, okay, how do we prepare for a future where these seemingly improbable but very disastrous situations can happen? So that, I suppose, is what we can do today. We've got about 13 minutes left.
We can't hear you. No.
We've got about 13 minutes left. Now, I have a dilemma. Should we take some more questions or should we do a round of concluding remarks? What do the panelists say? What would you prefer? Would you prefer some more questions?
No, I have got something for your other question, that how the SDGs should be grouped. So I have done some research on it. If time permits, kindly.
We will give you the opportunity. Okay. So let's take one or two more questions and then close with closing comments. Seema, one more question.
All right. So the next question is, we can see a steep fall in the morale of the workforces. How can we make them confident again?
How can we make them confident again? So, Susan, you want to try that?
Yes, why not? I can do it. Well, this is a very specific perspective, a very perhaps a negative perspective. I'm not so pessimistic about the actual situation and our perspectives for the future, because what we have seen in this during this pandemic also is a lot of solidarity, a lot of interest in showing the problems that vulnerable groups have, creating awareness. There were so many spontaneous activities all over the world to help the vulnerable groups, old persons or persons with diseases, the medical staff in the hospitals. So I think there are signs of solidarity and willingness to conceive this world as a common place where we all have to survive. And I think this can be one of the learnings. Now, nobody can escape from the crisis that might appear in the future. So we are all responsible for creating better conditions now to be able to have a scope of activity, because if with new upcoming crisis, our scope of possibilities to react will be more and more limited. So I think the crisis helps us also to be aware that we are all interdependent, and that the SDGs are really the common point that allows us to work on the different targets, because I think it's not possible to, or we shouldn't prioritize one or two SDGs, because they are all interconnected and they have all a reason to be there. And it's important to see them as a whole and to work from different angles, from different perspectives and with different competences on the different SDGs. Because one thing is sure, I think a more resilient society is a society where the SDGs, all the SDGs, are taken seriously.
Thank you, Suzanne. If there is any individual who is despondent because of the situation, I do hope that he or she has access to some social support. Like Bernhard mentioned, if you have relations or you have some social support, you can weather any difficult situation. If you are in it alone, it does become a very, very onerous. So I do hope whoever is feeling despondent has access to social support. Suzanne, you've actually teed up the discussion on SDGs. You've brought up an issue that can be the subject of a very long webinar, given the experiences that we've had because of COVID. Prior to COVID, the conversation was always SDGs are interconnected, look at them all together, do not prioritize. Now there are some more voices I'm hearing. And I think Dr. Karnatak has done some research on this. So let's hear him and hear his point of view.
Yeah, thank you to give me opportunity on this. In fact, I am following SDGs very well, that since we are on the social side now. So in fact, what is my opinion that these SDGs needs to be categorized at level 0, 1, 2, and 3. Now, what are level 0? In fact, we are doing for some village, we are doing some our Plus Approach Foundation, we are doing program, or rather a project there. Now, if you take all the SDGs, they are at different maturity level. So what are the level 0 SDG? It is roti, kapda, and makan. Roti mean the bread, kapda mean the cloth, and makan mean the house. The three things have to be there. So we need to combine some SDG, which I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. There should be, 1 is elimination of poverty, 2 is erasure, 3 establish good health and well-being, 4 is quality education, and 6 is clean water and sanitation. They are the basic requirement. and maybe the energy somewhere it will come. They're the basic requirement of any village. And we are taking village now. In fact, what our foundation is doing the work, it is in the village. So we should take that at level 0, and maybe level 1, level 2, level 3, like inequality and this gender equality and this part. They are the level 3 things. It is very difficult to happen in the short term. It will take maybe 10 or 20 years. Then we need to take care of poor and needy people. But I want to add here SDG 0. In fact, we have talked to Joby when Joby come to your office, that you introduce a SDG 0, which is the positive mind. Until unless you have got the positive mind, how you are going to do SDG 70? It is very difficult. Your people have to be aligned. Mental alignment for anything has to be SDG 0. That's why the positivity, it is coming up. And that's what we are now promoting. And we say it is a symphony organization, symphony nation. Symphony nation means when everybody is talking about the same. Our PM has said now that do the Atmanirbhar Bharat, self-reliant Bharat. Now self-reliant will only happen when we all will think in that direction. So the positivity it is required. So we believe that the man should be mapped whether he or she is positive or negative instead of class, color and creed. Class and color and creed, it has got no meaning. Either you are positive or you are negative. So with this, I want to close it that SDGs, number 1, they need to be clubbed. And there has to be a maturity cycle, level 0, level 1, level 2, level 3. Thank you.
We cannot have such thoughts go by when we have someone from the UN Global Compact.
Correct.
I'm sure she will have lots to say about the point of view, Dr. Karnataka.
Okay.
Joby, all yours.
Thank you.
Joby, you need to unmute yourself.
I continue to forget. I'm sorry. Yes, I just want to say that thank you very much, Dr. Ashish. The one important thing is that the SDGs, Agenda 2030, the SDGs, they are all interrelated, because you cannot say you want to address poverty without addressing the issue of clean energy, without addressing the issue of inequalities, without talking about decent work. They are all equally important. So once they are interconnected, and the issue, even if you look at goal 16 on peace and accountable institutions, you need peace, you need accountable institutions, you need the fight against corruption before you can address, otherwise you will not address the issue of zero poverty. So they are all interconnected, they are all interrelated, and they must be seen and one and whole, and we must address them together. And government and everybody must embed this, the Sustainable Development Goals into their operations. And as we continue to recover, these SDGs and the 10 principles of the Global Compact are very important. And also, let me say, because I think I might not be able to speak again today, I want to say that I want to talk about inclusive globalization, which was already a concern before COVID-19. COVID-19 has put an even brighter spotlight on economic inequalities and fragile society safety nets that now leaves the vulnerable communities to bear the brunt of the crisis. So we need to address this. Vulnerable groups, including women, youth, workers, older people, migrants, and people in extreme poverty, must be at the center of every economic response as we continue to respond to this COVID-19. Small and medium enterprises, micro, small, and medium enterprises have been disproportionately affected by COVID-19 disruptions because of their higher levels of vulnerability and lower resilience related to their sizes. So, and they employ about 70% of the global workforce. SMEs are the backbone of many of our economies and society. We need to tackle these unemployment issues and restart our economies. It is vital that government and institutions enact more policies to support small and medium enterprises, such as tax deferrals, loan guarantees, and direct spending. I also want to say that this is a unique opportunity to rebuild the international order together in a way that leaves no one behind. Any recovery that fails to address the causes of our present vulnerabilities condemns us all to more acute crises in the future. Therefore, governments must continue to step up and be creative in the way they design and administer intervention and stimulus packages. Governments policies need to promote and reward long-term sustainable investment. We cannot overcome any crisis without protecting the most vulnerable and tackling inequalities first. We must do that. We must protect our women, we must protect our girls and boys, we must protect the poor and the vulnerable. There is no other way, and we must work together. Whether you are from a developing country or developed country, we are all together on this earth. There's no planet B. We all have the planet together. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Joby. Very well said. Suzanne's weighed in on the SDGs, as has Dr. Karnataka and as has Joby. Bernard, would you want to say a quick word? We've got 2 minutes. Then after you, I can bring the discussion to a close. Just in case you have something to say on this.
Yes, indeed, I have. And I would like to say a few words. And I've been thinking about the outcome of Corona and what does that mean. And I've mentioned that maybe it has to do with the 75 years of the passing of the Second World War and our new world order, so to speak. The development I can see is, on the one hand, we will go from mass to class. Whether it's mass tourism, whether it's big mass events, at the moment at least, we do not have them. So we will go from mass to class. We will go from exploitation to sharing. We will go from fast track to right track. We go from shortcut to right cut, from rush hour to right hour, from overtime to smart time, from high speed to low speed, from fast food to slow food, from stress to relax, from pressure to leisure, from fear to joy, from waste to taste, from Wirtschaftswunder to living wonder. Those are some changes that we had to do anyway, because it couldn't go on like that. Had Corona not come, something else would have happened. And the shortcut would have become a dead end. So from that angle, I think we are lucky. But we are also lucky that it came only now. Had it come 10 or 20 years ago, we would have been nowhere with our digitalization. This webinar we could not have had. We could not have had the work from home. We could not have managed the work world remote as we do it now. So digitalization has helped us through that crisis tremendously. And for digitalization, this crisis is a speeder. It's a shot in the arm. And I will tell you, the digital dividend will be humongous. And here again, India has a role to play with its digital capacities and opportunities. We've seen it with the Y2K, but we see it also today. So from that angle, I think with the right attitude, and everyone in this forum has the right attitude, with the right, of course, relations, there's no doubt about it, with the right institutions. And it was mentioned, we have to use the institutions, and we have to make sure that some people who want to work against institutions are failing. We need the institutions, because without institutions, be it the UN, be it WTO, be it World Health Organization, and we would not be where we are today. So from that angle, I only hope that out of this crisis, we all go out of it stronger and wiser. I'm an optimist, but sometimes probably we also have to pray a little bit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bernard. You made an awesome intervention. And I have a suggestion for you. All those lovely things you said at the beginning, please write an article in which you put all of it and share it with us so that we can read and remember. That was very well said indeed. There is a very important point all of you made, which is that if you want society to be resilient, then you've got to look at all the SDGs together, because it's some sort of a web. But because it is a web, this COVID has also taught us one more thing, that if you go and hit one SDG, many other SDGs get affected. And the COVID actually went and hit SDG 8 directly, which is, what are the exact words of SDG 8, which is about having a good job, decent work, decent work and economic growth.
Growth, yeah.
Yeah, so it went and hit decent work and economic growth directly. And because it hit that, all the social SDGs got affected. Even though the environmental SDGs are doing well, having a world where the social SDGs are negatively affected doesn't help at all. So just as we know that all SDGs are interconnected, and for a resilient society, all of them need to do well, we must also be conscious that hurting any one of them can have a domino effect on other SDGs. That said, thank you very much. Thanks to the panel for this fantastic discussion. I know it's been recorded. If you want to hear it again, there will be a link out there. You will find lots of pearls of wisdom in this conversation when you hear the second time. There will be other conversations coming up, 3 more, as I said in the beginning. Request to all the participants, please do join. You will find the conversations to be wonderful because the panels there are very powerful too. And last but not the least, thank you very much to the UN Global Compact and the Alliance for Integrity for making this conversation possible, this and the 3 that are following. Thank you everybody for joining, because without you, this would be no conversation at all. Thanks for the wonderful questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for a wonderful moderator.
Yes, thank you. Indeed.
Wonderful.
Fantastic
Thank
moderator.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Bye,
I sent you the
everyone.
article. I sent you the article. Huh?
Please do. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, yes, very.